Here we go. Hey, everybody. Everybody's joining us. So we're all sitting here. We'll wait just another minute or two. And we're going to get started right on time tonight because we've got a lot of stuff to cover and I know a lot of questions to answer. So we're going to get to it. Just another minute. Hope everybody's staying warm. We've had awesome weather here in Kansas City, right, Pete? And
absolutely.
I'm not looking forward to tomorrow because it could look like my actual background. It's supposed to snow on Saturday, so Scott and Marty won't have to worry about that just yet.
Yeah, not yet.
It was 82 today.
Ooh, boy.
That's a little too warm for December.
No.
All right, we'll wait just another few seconds here. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We are really looking forward to this. This is the first time we've done something like this, and so bear with us as we figure out how best to work through all of the information there is. And thanks to Scott, Pete, and Marty for being our guinea pigs on this. We appreciate it. They've been awesome sports with this, and we're looking forward to it. So tonight we are doing Project Potluck. What is Project Potluck? It is pretty much what it says. These three guys are working on currently working on projects, trucks. So we've got 3 different trucks, 3 different states of repair, 3 different ways of doing things, 3 different, pretty much everything. So thank you, Scott, Marty, Pete. You all are absolutely amazing. But because this is a little different than our normal webinars, if you guys have been with us before, and I see lots of familiar names out there. If you have a simple question, go ahead and type it in the Q&A box that we usually have you guys put your questions in. But if you have an item that you want to talk about, or maybe it's a multi-part question, something that you kind of want to up for discussion, raise your hand. You can raise your hand and I will call on you, we'll unmute you, and you can actually speak with the panelists tonight. So we're going to do that a little different. If you're having issues, if you could please use the chat box for that, and I will try and help you through those. I'm really not going to get in the way tonight. We're going to just get on to it. So I'm going to stop sharing so I can kind of redo this for Pete. And we're just going to get started. So you'll see me looking at my other screen. All right. And here we go. We've got Pete. He has got a 1956 Chevrolet casserole. All right, Pete.
All right. Yeah, I'm Pete Laughlin here in Kansas City. I've been a landscape architect for 45 plus years. But I've always had a passion for trucks, and I've joined ATHS in the 90s, and local chapter much after that when I discovered there were local chapters, and I've been doing the newsletter for our chapter. But you know, I don't have a big shop. I live in suburban part of Kansas City with rows and columns of houses, and I have a garage. I push the car out, and that becomes my shop. So when I selected a truck, I had to select something maybe out of the medium classes, you know, that 3 to 6, class 3, class 4, 5, 6. And I found a truck that I had always been interested in, and it's called a low cab forward, almost a conventional, almost a cab over, it's in between there. And it's a Chevrolet, so the parts would be kind of common. And I thought, well, that's something that I could handle. So I built a carport on my sister-in-law's farm, It's a 96-mile trip to go down, take a part off the truck, bring it back to my shop, push the car in the driveway, and then beat out the pieces or weld up something or whatever I have to do with it. So it's been like an 8-year progress. But you know, it's a labor of love. It's taking part in a hobby, and every time we have a meeting, you know, we get to talk about some other things at that meeting. So I think without any more of my introduction, I'll just go ahead, Leanne, if you could just start the slideshow.
You
Oh.
are on your first slide. Go ahead.
Oh, you got a slide up there?
I got you up there.
Oh, I don't see it. If I don't see it, somebody else is seeing it also?
I should be able to see it. Marty, Scott, can you confirm for me?
Yeah, I don't see it.
No,
Okay.
we have the Zoom screen.
All right, let me try that. Sorry about that. All right.
I see Marty.
Nobody wants to see me. There you go.
There you go.
All right.
All right. So this is the condition of the truck was there on the left. Now this is all 3 shots are the A pillar of the cab, and the mice have set up inside of every cavity on that truck, and their urine really just caused havoc. They dripped holes in the floor. They dripped down the A pillar. And so what I did is I cut out all the bad steel until I got back to good steel, and then gauged it and manufactured, you know, just using blocks of wood or whatever I could with my little hammer. And I made new pieces of steel to go in there. I held them in place with magnets, and I just started little teeny stitch weldings, putting those back in. Now that A pillar in the middle is showing some of that work being done, and on the right, it's pretty much, you know, all completed. None of the body work is done. I just did all the steel work and put that back together. It took 7 pieces to put that back together. While it was open, I sprayed that down with some rust binder so that interior won't continue to rot. And of course, I've washed it. And the only thing I found really to get rid of the organics left behind by the mice, particularly the smells, was hydrogen peroxide. That just neutralizes it, and it all goes away, and there's no flowery after smell. So all that was done, and now with that slide on the right, you can see we're ready to do the Bondo work and pretty it up. Next slide. Oh yeah, this is the floor. The slide on the left, you can see the break, the floor break there, and to the right of that, in the upper portion of it, that was all rotted out. The mice had just urinated and rotted it down. And in the center, you can see where I have removed the doghouse, so that's why you're seeing the concrete floor below there, and cut out the bad parts. And I gauged the steel again and bent that into shape. And I actually put the beads in there using a log wedge and a big sledgehammer onto a little jig that I made with some 2x10s and some angle iron. And I just keep beating up and down there until I got the right depth and the right width to reinstall those rigid beads back into the steel. And once I got that all done, I fitted it in there and marked it out, cut it, and then just stitch welded it in place. And I think that slide on the right, you can see it installed and ready to go. Got some temporary paint on it. The welds all ground down so that was a butt fit on there, and everything's nice and flush. A lot more secure on that. Okay, Leanne, next slide. Yeah, then it pulling the cab off on the left. I took that and set it on the trailer, took it home, and did a lot of work on that, getting all those rusty places cut out and the new steel put back in. And there in the center upper is the cab. Now this is one of the parts that I had sent out. I took the cab over to a media blaster, the cab, the doors, the fenders, the big pieces like that, much more than my little, portable sandblaster could handle. But I did everything else, the small stuff, the mirrors and shifters and the glove box door, all that type of stuff. I did that at home. And then that would get the primer. I put the primer sealer on it. And then I could work the Bondo magic to get rid of all the little imperfections from my grinding after welding. I have to admit, I am a better grinder than I am a welder. So I did a lot of, I went through a lot of grinding wheels getting the body work done. And then the bottom center is putting a bonnet over the front windshield, and I had to cut it and kind of reshape it. They just give you a general bonnet and you sort of shape it to your truck. These in 1956, they weren't really precision manufacturers when they put the truck together. In fact, the guy that put the left part of the cab together was a much better craftsman than the guy who put the right side of the truck together. So yeah, every little joint is a little bit different than the one on the left, but got it done, got it all fitted up, and yeah, that's taken off, and I did the body work on it and got it all primered, and it's ready to go for final paint as well. Go ahead, Leanne. Oh yeah, I got into the on the left there. You see some of the chrome pieces, the trim work. I've gotten it taken down to gotten the old chrome off it, and you can see some of the copper showing through on there. And at that point, again, this was something that I sent out to get done. Did not do that at home. There was a lot of pits. So I got a product called Muggy Weld. It's a real soft metal that will heat at about 500 degrees, but that pot metal will melt at about 700 degrees. So I was able to use a heat gun in some instances. I mostly used a little hose on my propane torch. I could heat that up and melt that Muggy Weld right into there and fill in all those pits on that pot metal. And then when it cooled, I could take my little Dremel tool and grind those down flush. And then I took it back to the plater to get another dipping in copper done over it, and then the chrome as well. So that was kind of fun, kind of meticulous. This is a 5700 series, and those numbers are not available. There's the 3100 Chevrolet. It's a common pickup truck. That's available right out of the catalog, but I probably spent more getting the 5700 number plated than I would have spent if I had a 3100 series. And then, we're looking at the door in the center. That's kind of an after shot, but on the right, you can see where when this truck was wrecked several times. There was a lot of surprises in this truck, but that was one of them. The mirror got pushed in, and it actually tore the steel under the mirror and crumpled that all in. So after I took the mirror off and I cut that bad panel out, it sort of sprung at me. There was so much tension where they just sort of pushed her back together and welded it up and just got it on the road again so they get the grain in. I failed to mention it's got a 16-foot grain bed on the back of it, a twin hydraulic dumping bed on it. So I'm putting it back to that story again, and I'm trying to create that same story like it was when it was new. So I had to patch that back in, relieved all that tension, and then you can see there on the center how that turned out. Those 4 holes are where the bottom of the mirror bar will actually mount. Okay, Leanne. Yeah, everything was trashed on this. And more surprises are on the left is the way the speedometer cluster looked. Got taken that apart, and I had to sort of coax things apart because the mice had just sort of with their urine welded everything together is the best way I could describe that. And so I got all the pieces apart and I cleaned them and I washed them with hydrogen peroxide. And then I started repainting them. I was very lucky that this was a sort of a popular dashboard that's used in all their pickup trucks, and a lot of you see that in the cars as well. So there were decals available. I bought a sheet of decals that I could replace on my gauges, and then I restored the plastic, and I actually sat down with a very fine paintbrush and filled in a lot of the numbers for the heat selectors, as well as some of these other gauges on the dashboard. And on the bottom there is how it turned out. I think that's going to be acceptable. It has a green glow when you turn the lights on, and that green glow is done by reflecting off of the green innards. So I found a green and painted that the inner part with it. So when we turn the lights on, we got that green glow sort of sneaking around and lighting up the numbers and all that stuff. So that's how that's done. There's no green light bulbs in there. Next slide. Oh, yeah, that's the engine. That actually ran. I took it to a show, and coming back, I lost the brakes in it. That was a kind of an experience. It's only got a single brake line, controls everything. You lose one, you lose them all, and I lost them all. But you can see when I took the engine apart, there's the timing chain. That's what kind of stretch it has. I stretched that with my index finger all the way to the side of the timing chain housing. That chain is supposed to be taut. So I replaced that. Again, small block Chevy engine, it's a V8. It's very easy to work on. And that timing chain, the lower sprocket and the upper sprocket came as a complete kit, double roller chain, and it was like $24. So parts are very inexpensive and available. I really like that, especially for my home situation where I can just exchange things. Next slide. And then the seat. On the left is the way the mice have really got in there, used the upholstery, took it to the glove box, took it to the overhead, took it to the back behind the dashboard, and they just nested it all up. They nested up in the heater. When I took the heater out, I shook it out, and Daddy Mouse abandoned the family quickly. And then Mama Mouse came out, and then 4 little babies, little jelly beans, came out, and they nested everywhere and ruined everything. So consequently, what I had to do, strip that all down. Well, I cleaned it with the hydrogen peroxide I got, so it didn't stink. And then I went through the coil springs on there. A couple of them were rusted through. I actually welded those back together with my little wire feed welder, and I just kept on hitting that and sort of annealed that spring with a longer pause between each hit. And that spring actually does function again now without breaking. And then instead of using the burlap over the springs, I used a boat carpet so it won't tear and rust or rot out again. And then put in some cotton batting, upholstery batting, and then a real thin layer of foam, and then the seat covers. And yeah, that's how it turned out there on the right. Turned out good. That's the bottom part of the seat. The top part matches it, and it looks pretty good. Oh, I had to redo the entire bottom of that too. They rusted that out. So I did the bottom with some fiberglass cloth, and I was able to save the sort of doily that used to be the bottom pan of that. And there's the steering wheel. It had typical cracks and gaps, and somebody actually carved their initials in it. It had a big old knob that they bolted to it so they could, just grab it and turn it around at the end of the row when they're following the combine with it. And I gouged out all those gaps, cleaned them out really good with some jeweler's files. And then I used a JB weld and stuffed it in those gaps. When it hardened, I got the Dremel tool out again and the little jewel files and sort of blended all those surfaces together, and then a couple coats of paint, and there it is finished on the right. So yeah, these are things I can do at home in my garage when the car's not in there. The end. Next slide.
That's it.
That's it?
That's
Okay.
it.
All right.
It's okay. All right. Save your questions for Pete. Write them down. Keep them in your head. We're going to go through everyone, and then we'll come back and answer all the questions so we make sure we get through everyone. So Scott, if
Very
you want
good.
to go away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Scott Erfurth. I'm a project manager for a software development company in Louisville, Kentucky. I've been a truck enthusiast basically my entire life. And about 10 years ago, I made the executive decision to buy a truck. I've never attempted to restore anything before. And up until now, every aspect of my project has been a learning experience for me, from just learning about general truck repair and maintenance, all the way to the specific details that make my truck unique. So that's me in a nutshell. And over to the truck here. There we go. So this is the truck I decided to buy. I found the truck in an online for sale ad about 2011. It was located just east of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And these are the original images from the ad that I found. At first glance, I really didn't think the truck was a Bicentennial based on the image on the left, but by the time I got to image number 3 over there on the right and saw the door panel, I was pretty certain that it was a Bicentennial, and I was more than interested in going to see the truck. So I booked my plane ticket, headed out to New Mexico, and spent about, I'd say 15 or 20 minutes kind of looking around the truck and seeing what was there and what wasn't there. And well, let me tell you, it was a surprise. The paint job was wrong. It was missing parts. It didn't run, but as far as I was concerned, that was the truck for me. So I handed over my money, got the title to the truck, got on a plane home, and figured out how to get it shipped out to California. So a couple shots of the truck arriving to the RV storage lot where I had it stored, and just getting it off the trailer there. Here's just another shot of the truck and a snippet of the build sheet. The truck was originally delivered to Truck Enterprises in Richmond, Virginia. Was spec'd out with a 170-inch wheelbase, Cummins NTC 350, 13-speed transmission, and a torsion bar rear end. So as I said, the truck didn't run. So kind of first job for me was finding an engine for the truck. The guy that hauled the truck out from New Mexico for me gave me a number of a repair shop out in Palmdale, and they had had a couple big cams for sale. So went out, took a look at the engine. It was basically, what I was looking for. It was a big cam, and it had Jakes on it. And at the time, that's really all I knew about Cummins engines. Turns out that this is a Cummins Big Cam 2 MVT. MVT meaning it's a mechanical variable timing. And according to what I know and what I've read, Cummins introduced these engines in about 1980, and they were meant to meet the California Air Resources Board's emission regulations for the state of California. So interesting tidbit there. I really knew nothing about engines, especially Cummins engines, but little uniqueness to this guy. And then following along with, learning about trucks and learning about my truck in particular, I discovered that the interior of the Bicentennials were somewhat unique. So the dash covering there on the left is basically a faux leather, faux suede look, and it was only used on the Bicentennials. And I, spent months and years trying to find a replacement for all these coverings. It covers the dash and the closets, and I've yet to find a suitable replacement. So I have a feeling that eventually I'll need to just send a picture out to someone and have it digitally replicated. And over on the right-hand side, there's a picture of the upper bunk. Another thing I learned was the upper bunks in the Bicentennials were unique only to the Bicentennials. And of course, my truck was missing the upper bunk, so the only way to get a replacement is to either buy another Bicentennial or borrow one from someone that owns a Bicentennial and just basically have one replicated. So just, for me, a never-ending learning experience on this truck. Next up here, a couple shots of me getting the truck moved over to a spot in the storage yard where I had it stored, and getting the cab tilted over and eventually getting the old engine pulled out and on its way to getting replaced. Of course, I had to figure out that you don't go buy tools to work on semi trucks from your local auto parts store, and got to do a little negotiating with the locals, and maybe slip them a couple bucks in a 12-pack of beer, and they're more than willing to help you out with some heavy equipment they have laying around. Then in 2014, my wife and I decided to relocate to Louisville, Kentucky. So I got the truck put together enough to get it loaded onto a trailer, and then got it shipped out to Kentucky, and then basically put the whole project on hold for a year until we found a new house, got settled in, and I was ready to move on with it. So shot of me actually driving the truck down my driveway and over into the shop I had built where the truck currently sits. And most of the project, or most of the work I've done up to date here, I decided that I was gonna get rid of the 8-bag suspension that was on the truck and put it back to a period correct torsion bar. So got the 8-bag all ripped off there, and discovered a bunch of rust damage on the frame, and there's a bazillion holes that need to be dealt with. So I think I've decided at this point that it's more worth my time and effort just to strip the entire truck down to the frame and get a new set of frame rails for the truck. And here we have the torsion bar I found down in Alabama, mounted up to the truck, just temporarily bolted in place. It turns out that when they put the 8-bag on, they only had to weld up a couple holes. So most of the original holes for the torsion bar were still there. So all I had to do was slide it under the truck, lower the frame down, and start popping in cap screws. It was actually pretty lucky, I think, and I had no problems getting the torsion bar bolted up. And then on the right there is just a shot of the cab up and the transmission's out of the truck. The engine's basically all unhooked, and it's ready to get pulled out. And then here, I know I've shown a lot of shots of a big blue cab over, but that's not how the truck's gonna look when it's done. The ultimate goal is to get the truck painted in the right Bicentennial colors with the right paint scheme, and get the right Bicentennial decals put back on the truck, along with the gold frame that the truck was originally painted with. And as for what's next, like I said, I need to get the engine pulled out. My plan is to replace the engine with a period correct NTC 350. Then I need to remove the cab, get the truck re-railed, and then eventually just start to put the whole thing back together. And while I'm doing that, the never-ending hunt for parts, I think, as most people have discovered that are working on these old trucks, that parts are hard to find. There's not many left from Kenworth anymore, and you can spend a lot of time and money just tracking down the most minute parts, but you know, if you hunt them down long enough, you'll find them. They're out there. It just takes a lot of time and patience. And that's it for me, Leanne.
Thanks, Scott. All right, Marty, it's all yours.
Righty. Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're going to, I'm Marty Glomb, down by Taylor, Texas, and we're going to talk about some stew tonight for our little potluck that we got going on here. A little Kenworth stew. How's that? So that's me in all my glory there. Feel free to jot down phone number, email, address there. I'll be able or be happy to help anybody that I can. Just give me a holler and I can probably help you out with what not to do. Way more than I can what to do, but feel free to give me a holler if there's anything I can do to help any of y'all. Happy to do it. That's about day 3 of our steam cleaning venture there. So what do we got for ingredients here in our Kenworth stew? We got a couple armored carloads of money and a bunch of spare time and patience, a little pinch of a donor truck, huge part of it, one network of resources. It's one thing that the society has been so beneficial in being able to make some of those connections, a little member-to-member help there, and it's really, really a good thing. And like Scott said, one boatload of tools. So serving size is one, preparation time can be as long as you want to make it, I guess. I don't know. The last one I did took me 10 years. I don't have 10 years to spend on this one. I'm hoping to outlive it. So we'll stay on it here and get going. So a couple things that I found that helped me is, you know, have a vision, have something to shoot for, but make it what you want it to be. If you know, if you're a purist and you want it down to the last nut and bolt, then by all means go for it. If you want something that looks like it should and has a late model drivetrain, do it. It's got to please you. Start off, give them a bath, get rid of all that extra junk that's in there. I really do try and restore stuff or fix stuff as I take it apart. That way I know that I've got the right number of holes, the right size holes in the right places with the right fasteners. I'll go back in them and bag parts, label parts. I've had a lot of these trucks apart and I still do it all the time because I picked a couple of bags of stuff up the other day and wondered where the hell it goes because I didn't write it down, but we'll figure it out, I guess. But then bake it till it's done there. Make it to your taste. Get it out and enjoy it. Have fun with it. It's just been, that's the best part. So this is Penny. We name every vehicle that we own. It's just a thing. This is Penny. That's David and I went and checked it out there in Eastern Kentucky. Quite a little story behind it. Messed around with it for the better part of a day. Bolted the alternator back on it, put some bolts back in the front cover, put some antifreeze in it, put a handful of fuel filters on it, so on and so forth. Went for a little ride and boy, it ran pretty good. So figured what the heck, we'll see if we can make it home. So there's our trip home from Grayson, Kentucky to Taylor, Texas. Pulled up there, closest little truck stop on the south side of town, put some fuel in it. Did some down and dirty light repair. We got turn signals, brake lights, and headlights, and headed for the house. So hopped in, went down the service road there, took a big ride onto the highway. Left front door flies open. I'm standing out on the running board, hanging onto the steering wheel, hoping that I don't get thrown completely off. I Guess if you turned just right, the doors came open. So stopped and regrouped there just a little bit and purchased a couple of bungee cords, and we headed for Texas. Really did. It ran great. We had very little trouble. We just figured, hey, every mile closer to the house, one less mile we got to haul it. So we'll just see how far we can get. And we made her home. And then we got this little idea that, well, heck, maybe we ought to just see if we could get it to Reno, see if it would make it out there and back. And sure enough, it did. Had a little thrashing in between when we got home first part of March until we left for Reno there, but it made it there and back. We had a good time. Got home, started tearing it apart. Just going to make a nice driver. Not going to go crazy. Famous last words, right? Found a donor truck. It's been a huge benefit. Like Scott said, stuff's hard to find. Even little brackets, things like that. Just worked really good to have a donor. I've just absolutely got my money's worth times 10 out of that thing. I mean, it was a pretty decent truck. I really kind of hated to take it apart, but an 8V92 in it that shoved the crankshaft out the bottom of it and no tranny, and come to find out a few other little things wrong with it, but it's a great donor. Worked good. And like Pete said, expect the unexpected. So you just, you never know what you're going to find. These things were a tool. They were just another device for somebody to make a living. And when you pull into the TA or the 76 at 2 o'clock in the morning, headlights don't work. If the tire guy can get them working, don't matter what he does, just get them working. He's a hero, and we drive off into the night, right? You just never know what you're going to find in there. From, with this picture in the upper left there, it had one circuit that was protected with a breaker, and that was the headlights. That conglomeration there on the left, everything else is just hot wired through that right to the batteries. That way we don't have to worry about any circuit breakers or fuses or any of that good stuff. A few other little wiring issues here and there. I just took the harness out of the donor truck before it was all over with, put it in this truck, worked out a lot better. Got a top right hand corner over there. We got a used fastener kit for W9. In those years, in the late 70s, they used metric fasteners in the frame. It had all SAE bolts in it, and all the holes the wrong size. So it's been quite a process with the tapered reamer, getting all those holes back to the right size and the right fasteners back in it so that it doesn't come apart. The galvanic corrosion thing, it's an aluminum frame truck. Frame's really not that bad. I think they put like some blackjack roof tar or something on it at one time. And while I've spent the last year trying to get that crap off of it, it really did protect the aluminum rails. It's really pretty decent shape, not much corrosion. So real fortunate there, no cracks, any of that stuff. The rear cab cross members kind of busted up there on the bottom right, but not a biggie. And we got a little galvanic corrosion on some panels. We're going to end up reskinning the sleeper, but again, that's not the end of the world. You screw a stainless steel panel to an aluminum panel and don't insulate it, and you have galvanic corrosion. Again, try and restore your disassemble, make sure that everything's where it belongs, as it belongs. Just familiar with these trucks as I thought I was. Just continue to learn. That spring shackle there on the upper left, come to find out that's a pretty particular part to just a very few trucks. We're lucky enough to find a couple of them here in the United States, and got the last 2 that were in existence, as it appears like anyway. So needed that desperately. You can see that one there's a little bit worn. Just trying to make it as right as we can as we go here. It's like, near as I can tell, been painted 4 times. That's again, just the way it is out there. Originally it was copper, white, and gold. Not exactly, the build sheet doesn't give design. Don't know how many 3 color schemes there were in 79. I need to do a little more research there, I guess. But anyway, we're back down to the bare aluminum and the bare fiberglass, and starting to go back the other way. Details is really, you know, what makes it. Trying to get rid of all the extra holes, only have the holes that you need, make sure everything fits and get the right parts on it as best you can. And I don't know how many of y'all have dealt with 40-year-old fiberglass, but you know, the company that made those caps for Kenworth wasn't, that fiberglass is really porous, and it was that way when it was new. And just really need to almost get it back down to the bare mat, get all that old gel coat off, and kind of start back the other way for anything that's going to last and look decent. So playing body man here a little bit at a time. Last week got the frame bead blasted. That was a huge step. Cab's in the last coat of primer. Sand it with 600. It's ready to paint. And we'll take a little walk around here right quick if everything goes right. So keep your fingers crossed. That didn't work very good, did it? Let's try again. I have no idea what did that. Okay, we'll try again. Ah, there we go. Sorry about me walking around in the wind blowing, but this is pretty nice.
It's because you're not sharing your screen. Share your screen.
No, I'm not.
No.
I told it to.
I know. Sometimes it doesn't listen. I know. So many buttons to push.
Okay, now I'm sharing, right?
Now you're sharing.
And now I have it in
That's okay.
presenter view. And now we'll watch the video. Are we watching?
There we go. Now we're watching.
So we're getting closer, one little bit at a time there. All rewired, replumbed. I think I have only the holes that I need. Frame rail's pretty decent on it. That's where we're at today.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Marty.
You bet. Thank you.
So now, moved all of my stuff around. Now we're here for your questions. This is what we were really here for. So raise your hands, type in a question, do the things. So I'm sure they have more to share, or if you have maybe a hint for them.
Please.
That's what we're here for. We learn from each other.
If anybody wants to wet sand with 600, why come on over.
You're welcome to Tyler, Texas.
Already tired of block sanding around rivets, but that's okay.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Scott, see, you can go help Marty. Then you'll know
Yeah.
it's your truck.
Sure, that'd be great.
Thanks, George. Hey, you got to do what you got to do, right?
George said he loves the custom fuel tank. They can't see that. They can't see that. Gary says, fantastic presentation. He goes, thanks. Mario says, my husband is restoring a Mack DM 800.
Big truck.
That's cool. That's a big truck. That is a very big truck.
Big iron, heavy iron.
Oh, Melissa is Mario's wife. Sorry, it says Mario. Good luck, Mario. Craig asked, if you don't have a donor truck to get a wire harness from, what is your recommendation for rewiring bumper to tail light? Ooh, does not sound.
Need an answer?
Anybody?
Yeah, if it's not under the dash, if just headed back along the frame rail, really, I mean, the 7-wire trailer coax works really good. There's only so many things going on back there, and you can run some extra wires for temp senders and so on and so forth, but it's probably the easiest, I would say.
Pete, Scott?
I'm going to agree with Marty on that one.
I did run across a fellow who said that he can wire any vehicle. He'll make up a wire harness, and he guarantees that it'll be lower than the catalog prices. And then he showed me all the little terminal pieces that he uses and so forth. I did not take him up on his offer. I bought a catalog harness, so it's all pre-numbered and kind of a plug and play type of deal. And that's electricity is something I don't see, so I don't know. And if I just put tab A into slot A, I'm good to go on that. But the point is that there are people out there that can do that type of work. If you're in Kansas City and needed some of that done, I could point you to a guy.
Yeah, Craig is kind of on the West Coast, so.
and if
you're in the city often, so.
If you're real fussy and you want the right molded ends and things like that, that's darn hard to duplicate at home, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Those folks that are in the aftermarket that do that for a living have figured out how to reproduce the original.
All right. Well, Craig, it sounds like Pete might be able to put you in touch with someone. So if you have that issue.
Is it the Craig I know?
Yes, it is.
Rumor has it, still got a harness for his truck.
All right, Craig.
From Kenworth. That's I don't know, but that's word on the street.
All right, Chris Miskey, I see that you removed the wiring harness from your truck. Do you have a good source for wiring harness parts to repair any issues? So we kind of talked about the whole thing, but maybe just parts for fixing what you have.
Yeah, there's a lot of places out there on the internet that specialize in that sort of thing. I use a place in Colorado. They're relatively inexpensive for pretty good stuff. But just get out there on the internet and start looking around. It's everywhere.
All right. Tony Martin, Kenworth guy. He knows a lot about you guys.
Oh my gosh.
The
expert.
The expert, I know. What do you recommend to remove 4 coats of paint, Marty?
Well,
is there any particular drug that helps prevent insanity when sanding around rivets?
Brute force and awkwardness, Tony. They took all the good stuff out of the paint stripper. The best luck I've had with the late model stripper is use it. The aircraft stripper is pretty decent, and then get on it with hot water and pressure. Not quite steam, but I've got mine set at 180 degrees, and it would do about 2 coats at a time. And then at the end, get on your rubber gloves, get a paintbrush, get some stripper and Scotch-Brite pad, and start getting around the rivets and so forth.
Time and patience.
Yeah.
See, Scott, what you have to look forward to.
I can't wait.
Oh, Frederick says it's impressive to see the dedication and commitment from you guys. It's the VAT originally operated by under Global Van Line, so he wanted to know. Do you know?
I don't know for sure, but I've heard feedback from a few different people, and everyone seems to think that it was operated or at least leased to a van line company. Whether it was Global or not, I don't know, but that's a pretty good guess just based on the color.
Gotcha. Anybody else have? Oh, whoa! Patrick wrote a big one. All right, so Most of the older trucks pre-2000 use commonly available connectors. You can still source to build your own harness if you new one isn't available. PACCAR, Freightliner, Pre-Daimler, Mack all use stuff you can get easily from a wiring supply house. So Patrick said he had to build a wiring harness for his 68 W900 and used all the correct connectors. Correct was quoted. Source from local wiring warehouses. If someone needs specific connectors, he might be able to help, but taking the old one to a supply house should be able to match you up. That's good to know.
Cool.
Frederick was asking, do you know who the original owner of the BIT was?
No clue.
All right, so if you guys out there. Chris says, thanks for the information, Patrick. So thank you. All of that's appreciated. All right. Any other questions? Any other comments? You guys can raise your hand. I'll let you talk. We're just here to hang out and gab. Oh, there's William. All right, William, you will have to unmute yourself. I can't do that for you. I can allow you to talk, but there you are. Go for it.
Where did you find the truck? You said near Albuquerque. I live in Santa Fe. So whereabouts and who had it?
It was about an hour east of Albuquerque. I think the little town was
Grants?
no Moriarty or something like that.
Oh, east. Oh, correct. Moriarty. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
As far as who had the truck, I don't remember the gentleman's name. I believe he had owned a record service, and he I think he was the guy that towed the truck when it broke down, and probably towed it to his shop or yard, and the owner probably just gave up on the truck and sold it to him and went and bought another truck.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, William. Anybody else? Have you figured out paint scheme or colors yet for all of you guys? Pete?
Yes, I have. I'm going to go back with the original. It's a 1956 color scheme. That Matador red would be the field. And then the trim was India ivory. And DuPont made the paint, and they had been bought by Nason, I believe is the name of the paint. And I did find the dealers are actually at O'Reilly's auto parts store. So I was able to go to the O'Reilly paint store and get my paint, the Matador red and the India ivory. And I got part of the parts taken over to the painter now. I still have to take the cab and the bumper and take those over to him as well. So hopefully we'll be going into paint on my parts here the next couple of weeks.
All right. Scott, you said you're going back to the original Bicentennial.
Yeah, correct. Red, white, and blue with the gold frame.
Awesome. And Marty, of the 4 layers, have you decided what to do with it?
Just has to be black and white. That's
Black and white. I see a pattern.
yes. You're right.
Kind of like your neighbor to the south there is, obsessed with the color blue.
Exactly.
So this is Jim from Monte Vista, Colorado. I have been restoring antique tractors and have started working on trucks, mostly to get something to haul my antique tractors. I have a 1983 Pete that is my truck to haul tractors with, and I'm trying to do restoration in moderation. One of the best things I did was get a factory wiring schematic. I also have 2 B61 model Macs, one a 59 and the other a 60. I am very impressed with these 3 gentlemen and their projects. As you mentioned, it only takes time and money. Lots of books, apparently. Well, good luck, Jim. If you have questions or you want to talk, let us know. We'll be glad to do this again.
Speaking of schematics and so forth, Mr. Martin, who I guess is on the call, is a fantastic resource for
Absolutely.
that information.
Yeah.
And besides being probably the smartest Kenworth guy on the planet.
He's got a lot of information stuffed in that head of
Yeah.
his.
Amazing.
He's shaking his head probably at us right at the moment. Mario is asking, has anyone had any luck getting youngsters involved in the restoration process? Anybody got some kids?
Getting what involved?
Young people, kids.
Oh, right. I have not. It's, quote, too much like work, unquote.
My granddaughter loves to help.
Oh, that's good.
She's just like her mom. I'm sure that will come to an end. She's 10, so it won't be much longer, but yeah, she loves to help.
Get it done in the next couple of years before the
God,
teenager.
I hope.
And yes, Tony, we know flattery will get us everywhere. That's what he said for you, Marty. All right. All right. Oh, Bill has another one. Go ahead, Willem.
How do you guys tow around your truck or whatever to get paint and things like that? Because I need to tow mine to Albuquerque, which is 60 miles away and 2,500 feet lower. And so that's why I want to get it painted. I don't want to take care of it myself. And so how do you guys do that? Because it's heavy, you know?
Wrecker, low boy.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks, William. Anybody else?
Yeah, George says I have 6 years to get it done so she can take it to her prom. Nothing would make me happier. I might be able to make that timeline too.
All right. Well, there you go. Now you have a goal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. If you guys have questions, go ahead, type them in there. David said to Scott and Marty, where will you try to find an original looking interior
For what?
for your truck?
Oh,
Scott, Marty. Pete, you're halfway there.
For
Well,
me,
mine is very easy. Go ahead,
Pete.
Scott.
I was going to say for
Okay,
me, I have to have my interior custom made. I have a couple friends that have had their interiors custom made, so I think I have a place to go. I have enough pictures to have it replicated. So I have a plan for what I'm going to do. I think the hard part's going to be the covering for the closet and the dash, like I said, and maybe matching the carpet will be a little bit of an issue, but again, it's all going to be custom made.
Marty?
so there's a guy in the Northwest. You can find him on Facebook called 2B's Upholstery. He was an apprentice to the guy who ran the upholstery shop at the Kenworth plant in Seattle.
There you go, Scott.
He has all the original patterns and everything. He made the interior for David's truck. We just installed this spring. Nice stuff. And it is absolutely as close to factory as you'll ever get it. So that's where I'm headed.
All right. All right. We were talking about youngsters. We got one. Tim is watching tonight, and he is 11 years old, and he cannot
Nice.
wait to help his dad restore their 1979 Peterbilt 359.
Good
Awesome.
for you.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Well, Tim, we're looking forward to it. So, hey, Tim, when you start that, you let us know, and we will get you on here because we would love that and get you and your dad. Okay, and drag them along. We'd love to see it. You guys get started. All right. Lord says thank you. The big guy, he says thank you to you all. Everyone enjoyed the presentations. I've simply learned a little. So ATHS is looking forward to more of these. Yes, we are. We plan on doing more of these. We also want to check in with you guys later down the road, see how far you've gotten in a few months, maybe a year. I know it takes a while to get any progress along. It looks like you guys have done a lot, but I know, Pete, how long have you been working on yours so far?
Well, it's been 8 years. This
Okay.
COVID year has been the sort of a blessing, you know, having to stay home. Got a lot done this year.
Scott, how long have you had your truck?
Coming up on 10 years.
10 years. And Marty, how long has this one been in process?
It's been apart for a year.
Been apart for a year. So this is not a quick process. Anybody who wants to get into all of this. But we'll check in with them again down the road. And if you guys have a project you're working on and would like to talk about it, we love to share. I know Scott's probably gotten a couple of bits and pieces of information from doing this
Oh, absolutely.
that he wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And yeah, so you guys just email me, or you can go here. I'm gonna share my screen one last time. You guys can find all of our webinars on our website, aths.org/webinars. So if you guys want to watch this, we've recorded it and we will put it back up there. So any of those webinars in the past, you can go look at. And of course, always email me. It's Leanne, Leaann, just take the space out, at aths.org, or events@aths.org. That one's easier to remember. And we love to get you. So Mario, definitely send me a message. We'll get you. Or just call the front office and Jody will put you in touch with me. Not a problem. Oh, Tom LaPointe does have one last question. He wants to know what the paint code for a W900 dark gold metallic interior paint might be. All right, Tony, are you still on here? Because by gosh, you probably have the answer in your head. Anybody? Anybody? Oh no, no.
Should be on the build sheet if he's got the build sheet.
If you don't have the build sheet, I'm pretty sure we can find somebody who might have one.
Yeah.
Tony said he'd be glad to look it up.
There you go.
So Tom, get in touch with Tony. If you guys need to hook up, we can be the intermediary for that as well. We can get you guys in touch with each other and we can get you that paint code. We can find that information. That's what we're here for. That's what ATHS is. We're here to be the information to help you guys make these trucks look amazing again. All right. Well, thank you all for tonight. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Pete. Up the backwards.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you, man. Appreciate it.
And we look forward to doing this again. Everyone have very happy holidays, and we will see you next year with a whole new slate of educational webinars. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Good night.